Let's go. Yeah. I really got the feeling today that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about. Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go. Let's go. Nothing's gonna stop us today. Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on. So turn it up to 10. Here comes our favorite song. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Coding with Sam, Demystifying Technology. In today's episode, I'm going to continue this time deep dive into what I started on Friday, which was Functions Friday. So today I'm going to take you through how I created the functions. I'm going to take you through what you need to do to set up an account on Azure, and then we're going to modify the function we created, and then I'll show you how to create the functions from Visual Studio Code, not just the portal. So we're going to have some fun today. Don't forget that I'm streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, so you can check that out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more sweet things to come. You can send me a chat message on any of these channels. I will respond. If it's something you don't understand or you can't, you want clarification on, just let me know, and I'll make sure I do that. Um, Before we get started, you could just pop a message into the chat. Let me know if sound is okay. Let me know if video is okay for you, and then we can continue to do this. Let's see, what do we have here? Mhm, 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 mhm. Okay, so I'm just gonna go right into it. Let me take you to. So on Friday, which was day before yesterday, we started creating Azure functions, and I explained to you that functions are basically platform as a service, or what we call functions as a service. It's just uh, serverless compute that allow you to run piece of code in the cloud. So you trigger some form of operations or some form of work, either on a schedule, either when an event happens, or when a request comes in. Now, the good thing about functions is that it's scalable, and also you don't need to worry about the compute. So, which means that you're only paying for what you use. You're only going to pay when your function is actually run. So, you don't incur extra cost as having to keep, let's say, the VM or hosting in the cloud somewhere where you're built, so far as that server keeps running. But the story for functions is a bit different. So, that's the good thing about it. Microsoft's offering um, for functions or serverless compute is what we call the Azure functions. So in today's episode, we're going to spend close to probably an hour, and a half. Where I'm going to take you through the whole process. I'm going to take you to how to create an account. I'm going to take you through um, how to set up and hey, play around with functions. So I'm going to go right in, and we're going to open up the functions we started with last Friday. Just a recap. I'm going to open it up so that you see what we did. And then if you have any questions, don't forget to drop it in the chat. I would answer that. And then we'll take it from there. We'll just modify the function a bit. We'll go to Visual Studio Code, create some, and then let's get coding. Um, I deleted on the blog post because of one or two things. I was checking the technical issues I had last Friday, which was because of I'm actually doing a two PC stream, which means that one PC is my core working machine, which is doing all the camera changes and all that, and I have a stream machine that actually is encoding the footage and streaming live. I had left the streaming computer's microphone on, so it was picking two sounds. That's why you had an echo. So Dali, that's figured out. We have that going right now. So now let's see. Just gonna go in here. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Okay, well, let's get this party started. So I'm gonna go into Portal. I think I'm already logged on. Let me be sure. Yes, we have that account. So I'm just gonna go to my Azure Portal. So, like I explained the other time, let me make this a bit bigger for all of us, so you can actually see that bigger. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't ask me to enter the password because I'm already authenticated into my Azure portal. Now I'm going to write a blog post on how you can actually create an Azure account, so that you can use that to create your services in Azure. It might interest you to know that there are over 25 plus or more services that actually are free that you can use on Microsoft Azure once you create an account. So I would show you how to do that, set it up, and then you can go ahead and have fun. So let's go into the functions we created. Where is that? Let's go here. We didn't list that. Okay, so um, you might not be able to see this because the last time I mentioned that I'm using a plugin that allows me to hide setting important information from viewers since I'm doing live streaming. These are like my tenant information, subscription IDs that could virtually be exposed. But because of the plugin I'm using, I'm hiding that from you. So I'm going to go into my resources. Let's go here. Just going to open my resources. And thank you. Welcome, Osofo. Greetings from GH. Rudy, thanks. Thanks, thanks. It's awesome. It's good to know that the sound is working very well. Thanks, thanks, thanks. Keep it up. Let me know what I can do to make it more interesting for you. Okay, so the last function we created was Func Friday. I'm going to open this up and I'm just going to run it again so we all see what happened last Friday, and then we're going to build on that. Again, like I mentioned, if you have any questions, just let me know. I would easily make that accessible. You know what? Let me switch to a different view so that with that view, you will see a lot more things going on. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze this a bit. I'm going to bring this right here. I'm going to expand it somewhere here. Yep, awesome. Yep, so I'm just reminding you of my schedule. So Tuesdays, IoT Tuesdays, Friday, Functions Friday, and Sundays, 8 p.m. we do this. Yep, so this is our portal. This is a function we created. Let's open the function. Hope you can see that. Opening the function up. And please forgive me, most times, because this is an in-depth coding session, it's more or less like I'm giving you an insight into my process when I'm coding or when I'm programming or when I'm learning something new or when I'm developing. So you might probably be hearing me sing or talk to myself, not talk directly to you. It's just a common thing I do, like or most developers do when they are coding, because it's we kind of like talk to ourselves just to make sure that we're doing something, we're doing what we're doing. So if you hear that, don't get scared. It's normal. Don't be frightened. I do that all the time, and I'm walking you through the process of what I do. So if there's anything, if I'm going too fast, just prompt me in the chat. I'll just come back a bit for you to make it to make it easier. So no worries. We're going to spend quite a number of how are we doing this? Doing great, bro. Uh, check this out. Yeah. Actually multitasking, doing a lot of things, which is very normal. At this point, I think I'm not dropping any frames, so we're good. Awesome. All right, so let's go to our function, 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 gh. Okay, so opening our functions, here it is, and the recap of what we did last week. Welcome, Reggie. I see that there's a lot joining from Facebook. That's cool. You can also try Twitch. I would really love someone to connect on Twitch so I can check the experience I have. Um, because I'm also using something called Restream.io that actually allows me to stream to multiple endpoints. So that's what I'm using to stream to Facebook. I think it's also on Periscope. Yes. So Facebook, Periscope, LinkedIn. I'm not sure it's streaming on LinkedIn, but it should be. But I'm really curious if someone can go to Twitch and check that out, because I want to see if you look up on the top of the screen, you should see that there's a chat there. I just want to make sure that the chat is coming. So maybe Rudy or Neo, anyone online, just send me a message. I just want to be sure that it's coming through the chat feed. So just send me something. Let me be sure we are. Let's see if it's going to come. Yep. Okay, so looks like the feed is coming in, but I would really want you guys to. Okay, okay, yep. So just send it there, and then I'll see. Okay, so enough of the rattling. Enough of the rattling. Enough of the rattling. Okay, so let's go to our functions. So on Friday we created the very first function called func Friday hello. So let's open this up. And all this function did was just the bare minimum. We created a very basic Azure function, and we only changed it, tweaked it a bit to say instead of saying hello, world or hello your name, because this function allows you to pass a name either as a URL parameter or as in the body or something, and it just reads it and spills it up. So this is what we did last Friday. We created a very basic function which was func Friday hello, and basically what it's doing is that anytime, and this is an HTTP triggered function, which means that this function is called anytime there's an HTTP request to an endpoint that the functions generate for you. So um, you might want to ask, why would I want to do functions? Sometimes on a development team, you're creating some endpoints or APIs, and you want to standardize them. Now, let's say these APIs might be coming from different sources, but you can use functions to kind of like um, abstract it, you kind of like a wrapper around your core API, and all your developers can quickly test that. Another scenario is that you have certain core business functions. Let's say if you have a new hire, you want to send an email to HR, send an email to a lot of different people. You can use functions to orchestrate that. And in the series on Functions Friday, I'll show you how to actually use things like durable functions through orchestrations. I'll jump into logic apps so that we can use we can use visual elements to create orchestrations as well. So what I would want you to do is just look up some of these things, and if you have any particular questions, just you know tweet at me, and then I will just send me a message and I'll respond to that. So to go over what we just what you're seeing here, this is a basic function. So once the trigger hits that endpoint, it checks to see if there is a name in the query in the URL, or if there's a name, variable or property in the body. And what happens is that it just concatenates that and tells you, hey, hello, welcome to Functions Friday. So this is what we did on Friday. So I'm just going to open the test here, and then you can see the test, and we are passing, in our case we are passing it into the body, and we pass the name of Malta because Malta was on the stream the last time. So here, let's say, let me put Rudy here, and then if I run this, let me bring this a bit here so you can see the output. If I run this and we go to the output right here, yep, there you go. You can see that we have a status 200 OK, and that's hello Rudy, welcome to Functions Friday, because we passed the parameter name and the value was Rudy. So that's just the bare minimum what we created on Friday. So we're going to build on this, but this time what I want to show you is I want to show you how to create another function, this time not from the portal, not from the Azure portal, but this time from one of the tools, which is Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a free IDE you can use to develop pretty much any application, like most of the languages, PHP, Java, JavaScript, C Sharp, supports a lot of these languages, and it's free with a lot of tools, IntelliSense, extensions that help you create these things. So I will be using, I'll show you in the next how to use Visual Studio Code to do that. I have my Visual Studio Code here. So, and I don't know if it's an OCD, but I like doing I like opening my command prompt. Okay, so I like opening my command prompt. When I open the command prompt, I want to change directly into the working directly I'm going to work in, the folder I'm going to work in, and I want to call Visual Studio Code from there. I don't know why, but I've done that for a very long time that it just works for me. So I kind of like go with it. So uh, pa, 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 I know that I know it's called repo. I'm going to make it directly, and let me know if it's legible enough for you to see. So I'm going to create. You know what? Let me make this. Okay, so I'm going to create a directly call. I'll just call this functions, and I'll change this into functions. So I am in functions, and then I like to call Visual Studio Code from within the directory I'm working. So I'll just use the command code dot, and that actually invokes Visual Studio Code within that directory for me to use. So I'm going to open this up right here. Bum 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 bum. Motion detected at the front door. Sorry guys, I have a ring doorbell in the house, and anytime someone walks through it, in front of the doorbell, it rings. Let me actually mute my Alexa so we don't have thank you Alexa for your service. So yep. Okay, so now as you can see we are in the functions folder in Visual Studio Code. Now if you go to the extensions in Visual Studio Code and you look for, let's try Azure Functions. Now what happens is that this would actually show you extensions that are related to Azure. Okay, that are related to Azure in the sense that these are extensions that help you to develop Microsoft Azure functions within Visual Studio Code. So you can see most of the extensions here are installed. So if you are probably doing something on Java, JavaScript, whatever language it is, or whatever, there are a lot of extensions. If you go to the marketplace, you will see a lot of extensions that actually help you to develop. We have one for functions. There you go. So I have the Azure Function extensions. If I click on this, this will just give me some information. This allows me to create Azure Functions from within Visual Studio Code. It looks like we have to reload here, so I'm just going to do a reload. Um, and like I mentioned, you need to subscribe. You need to have an Azure subscription that allows you to create and host Azure Functions. But the unique thing of what's going to happen right now is that the function I'm going to create, I'm actually going to, you realize that I'm going to run it locally, not in the cloud, not in Azure right now. But after creating it locally, testing it, I can push it to the cloud because that's like the normal workflow. You would want to locally, build locally, test, make sure everything is okay, and then you can actually upload it to the Azure cloud. And that's what I'm going to do. So, as you can see, my Azure subscription is connected, so I can and make sure you have the extensions. Again, most of the episodes or shows that I do will be accompanied by blog posts and articles that will probably explain in detail or give you some form of step-by-step guide to do it. Today is just like a deep dive into how I do it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to take my time to do this. So let's rock and roll. All right, so I have my extension sorted, so that's fine. You can see that. I have my subscription also done. what I can do is that I can use the Control Shift P on Windows. I think it is Command Shift P on Mac. I'm using the Windows. I'll cross check that for you. And I can just start typing Azure Functions. Yep. And then you can see that there are commands here. Azure Functions, create function, create new project. Now, the 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 cool thing is that I already have a project. Okay, I already have a project. So I want to create a function within the project. What we did on Friday, we had already created a project. So I'm just going to create functions within that project. So let's do this. Um, and my antivirus decided to act up on me. Let's do this. Just hiding all this trust application. I don't want to turn it off because hey, for me it's a security measure, so I like to keep it. I like to keep it on. Hello, Bernard. Thanks for joining. Abu, it's good to see you on the channel. Tio, oh, all the way from Canada. Thank you very much for joining the stream. We try to teach and learn. If there's anything particular you're trying to do with serverless or functions, let me know. Bernard, thanks for joining. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to open Azure here. Now, lately by default, when you install Visual Studio Code, it comes pre-packaged with some of the core extensions you need. I have the Azure one. Now, what this is going to do is that it's going to connect to Microsoft Azure. It's going to connect to my Azure account and pull down all the, how do you call it, all the projects, all the functions, everything that I have. It's going to pull them down for me. And I have a Visual Studio Enterprise subscription, so it's connected. Now, as you can see here, I'm connected to the same, using the same account or email I used to go on the portal. So if I open this up, as you can see, it's the same. Here we have functions used. I'm going to pull this down so you can understand the whole concept very well. So, yep, so it's pulled it down for me right here, and you can see functions. It's telling me I have something on a function. So if I expand my subscription, because the function I created on the portal actually is under Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. I can show you that, but let's just go. And don't forget, next week, Saturday, is the Global Microsoft 360 Bootcamp. I am speaking there. I'm going to be showing you how to use actionable message in Outlook. You don't want to miss that event. It's happening at the Mervyn Peak Emporium, Ambassador Hotel. 26th. That's next Saturday. You don't want to miss that. I'll be sharing some knowledge on how to, work on actionable messages in Outlook. Okay, so as you can see, Visual Studio Code has pulled down my functions, which is in the portal. So if I go back to the portal right now, look here, I mean, you can see here Func Friday GH, which is what we created. So if I go back to the portal, that's it, Func function GH. And we have just one function in it. In subsequent episode, I'll be talking about how to integrate other connectors, like you want to do Twilio, send messages. And one cool thing we'll do, I know a lot of developers in the country in Ghana use, Haptel and some other SMS, bulk SMS endpoint. So what we're going to do is that we'll create our own bindings that will allow us to actually connect SMSGH, or sorry, Hoptel. Why do I keep saying SMSGH? Hoptel or any other third-party SMS platform. We can create our own bindings and then we can use them. I'll explain bindings in details. So as you can see, it's pulled down my functions from the Azure portal right into my Visual Studio Code. Here it is. So if I click this, this is actually, pulling it down. And you can see it has pretty much everything on, on my function. So application settings, the deployment that I have right now, I just have one deployment. And if I open functions, you can see that it's going to open all the functions I have. And so far, I have just created one function. If I open this up, and yep, open this function up, open it, and then I have a request which is coming in and a response which is going out. So at the core of Azure Functions is what we call bindings. Now bindings see them as variables. They can be input variables or output variables. Some bindings can also actually be triggers. So bindings allow you to either pass information to your functions or get send information out to the next, calling function or service. Now, there are a couple of bindings. Let's do this. Let me take you to the portal so I can walk you through those properly. Let's go here. Um, and I'll advise you to you know, take a good look at the documentations of Microsoft website. It's really, really detailed. There are a lot of step by step that it gives you a lot of information. So let's go here. Serverless. Let me open the documentation here for functions and show you something. Let's trust this and let it work. Okay. So I'll be using Node for now, but in subsequent streams, I can show you how to do C# as well. Thank you. Rudolph is joined us. Oh, and someone special joined the feed. Not that. Let's go back here. Let's go back here. But I just want to show you something here. Let's go to the documentations. Yeah, because there are a lot of external connectivities, it's Efomagbe. Yes, our boss. Thank you for joining the feed. I hope I can pass some knowledge to you today. Okay, let's open functions. I just want to show you just a little overview of a few things so I can guide you. Okay, so let's go here. So I was mentioning to you some of the features. Choice of language, you can use C Sharp, Java, JavaScript, Python, other languages. Um, pay per use. I mentioned earlier that it is pay as you go. So depending on the compute that your function uses, that's what you're going to pay for. So if your function is not called, or if your endpoint or API is not called and it's sitting there for like God knows how long, you're not going to pay for it. Unlike if you have a VM or other web services that once you have it there, the server running, you're going to pay for it, whether people call it or not. Um, so these are the various triggers. They are some triggers actually are most of the triggers are all bindings. So for instance, an HTTP trigger function, which means that it is this function is triggered when an HTTP request comes, and that is what we created on Friday. So this is an HTTP trigger, which means that if you send an HTTP request to this function, that is when is the code you've written in the function is going to run. So if I came here and then I went over here and run this, let's get here, okay, and let's go to the function. If we open this up, let's go up here. Okay, we're good. Bum bum badum bum bum badum bum bum badum bum 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 bum. Okay, so functions Friday GH. There we go. Let me expand this a bit. This is probably going to go behind it. So yeah, I just want to expand and show you. Okay, so let me copy this. Okay, let me open this up a bit. Yep. Okay. All right. Cool. Yep. So there you go. So yeah, so these are other triggers, timer triggers, which are triggers that which means that whatever you write in that function, the piece of code you write is going to trigger when the specified time you issue happens. There's also Cosmos DB, which means that when something happens in a database, that function is going to be run. There are a lot of them that over the course of this channel we'll go through them. So here I just wanted you to have a feel of that. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code because today we're trying to use Visual Studio Code to do this. Okay, no IoT today, so that's it. All right, so here I can now I can click the functions icon here and then go ahead and either create a new project or create a new function. In this regard, we want to create a new function because we've seen how to create a function from the Azure portal, and this time we want to see how to create a function in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to hit this, the plus icon. Yes. It's not a functions project. Create one. Yes, I'm going to create a functions project, and we're going to use JavaScript. As you can see, you can use JavaScript, TypeScript, C Sharp, Python, Java, PowerShell, which is in preview, which means not. It's just kind of like experimental. They're trying to see how that goes. So we're going to do JavaScript, and now there are actually two versions of the functions runtime. Version 2, which was rewritten with .NET Standard, which I recommend if you are starting out with functions, you go with, because that allows a lot of capabilities and extensions. Functions version 1 is the very first one they started with, which was written on the .NET framework. It's merely there because of backward compatibilities, because if you have functions that have been written in version 1, they still want to be able to support it. So we're going to go with version 2, and this is going to kind of like load the template, and the template could include HTTP trigger functions. As you can see, yes, trigger functions, timer functions, drawable functions. And what I'll do is that in subsequent stream, I'm going to take each of these triggers and we are going to create functions for each of the triggers. So you know how to trigger a piece of code when something happens in your blob storage, in your event grid, in your database, a queue. We're going to take this one after the other and create it. So you have a deep understanding of how to do that. Mr. C, thank you very much for joining. It's been a long time. Get in touch. Okay, so we're going to do another HTTP trigger. So I'm going to hit this. And what name do I want to give it to it? Um, let's say we're going to call this token generator. Now, anything I do on my stream or anything I do on the channel is actually um, a series or a build up to something we're going to reveal at the end of a series or at the end of like a season. So I'm going to build a token generator, and I want this to be now authorization level pretty much is the security aspect of your functions. You can have a functions, you can have the anonymous and admin. Now, when you set authorization level to function, it means that when you call it's only the function within that project that can call the function, or the function can run on its own. All right, which means when you call the function, you need to pass a token or some secret to the function before it's going to execute. If you set it to anonymous, it means that anybody anywhere in the world can call the function and it's going to work. And if you set it to admin, it means you are technically restricting to setting administrative users. Now, for the sake of the channel, we're going to use anonymous, so which means that once we deploy this function, anywhere you are in the world watching the stream, you can actually call the function and see what happens. All right. So what I want us to do right now is, first of all, when a function is created, we're going to test it. Okay, I'll test it locally, show you how to do that, and we will deploy that function back into Azure. And what I want you to do is I'll send you the URL, and all you need to do is just call it, replace your name, and see what happens. And if you do that and it works for you, I'll just ask that you give me a thumbs up in any of the chat streams, so I know that hey, you tried the function and it's working. So um, let's just wait for it to to run. And again, like I mentioned, spend a lot of time. Okay, spend a lot of time understanding, reading documentations. And one thing I want you to know is that yes, I'm doing this. It doesn't mean that I know it all. No, I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. There are a lot of things I'm still learning and trying to understand. All right. So it would be helpful if you practice. It would be helpful if you take the initiative to try. If you think trying on your own sometimes, you don't have the feel for it or the zeal for it, get a partner. Okay. And if you're stuck, hey, tweet at me. My handles are down there. Send me a message. I would respond. I'll respond and give you, feedback, help you walk you through that. That's the only way you can actually succeed. You need to try, just try to do it. Because if you don't, then you'll be found wanting. Okay, so our local project function is happening. Let me switch to that so we can see that. Yep. So let me actually, so as you can see, it's created our local project. And I mentioned that once you create this, you create functions in Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio, what happens is that it actually creates it locally for you to test. Let me close this for now. Okay. And then, so here's it. A very basic node, kind of like node module. Simply, again, what's happening is that if you call this function, all right, and it's trying to find a name property either in the body or in the query string or in the URL, and then it's just going to say hello, whatever name it is that you passed. And then I'm going to add one more thing. This is not, this is just, very bare bone, minimal. Let's say hello, your name. Uh-oh, this is caps too loud. Welcome to functions. So what will happen is that after this, I'll I'll just add, like, I'll just let it generate something random. All right, something random. So anytime you call it, you get a random number or a random point. So we're gonna like we're gonna play a game, and this is what you're gonna do. Anytime you call the function. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna deploy it. You call it. If you see whatever you pass, if you see your name, just thumbs up. And then I'm going to change the code a bit to randomly generate numbers when you call it. And all you need to do is when you call it, whatever number you get, just put it in the comment box. And let's see. So this is done. I'm going to save this. And to test the function, okay, it's as simple as hitting F5 on your keyboard. Yep, just hit F5 on your keyboard. And once you do that, the function is running. Yeah, the function code is running. So right now, you must have call tools. Whoa. Okay. So I needed to install an extension. I thought I did. Let's see. Well, quite simple. Visual Studio Code makes it easy. So I'm going to install the version 2 runtime. So okay, it's telling me that if I want to run it locally, okay, on my machine, I need a runtime on my machine, the call tools on my machine, so that I can deploy and run codes locally. So fortunately for us, Visual Studio Code allows you to do that. I'm doing that, so it's just calling some node modules to install that for me. Um, let's just keep our fingers crossed and wait and see how that goes. Let's see. Hopefully this is done, and then we'll go back to running again, and we will have some fun. Yeah. Okay, so if you're on Twitch and it looks like it's breaking, then it's like I think we're dropping frames. Let's see. Let me check the streaming machine. How many frames have we dropped? Wow, we've dropped quite. Yeah, we've dropped quite a substantial amount of frames. Okay, 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 okay. Terminal we reuse by tags. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm just going to close this and let's stop this for a moment and let's run that again. Okay, so let's do F5 again. And this time, hopefully, because we have the runtime installed, we should be able to boop, 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 boop. Let's turn that off. Yep, let's run this again. Version 2. Mm, mm, Okay, so this should install it. Bum, 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 bum. Hopefully my Firewall is not blocking anything. Let's see. Ba, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so come on, are we done yet? Okay, it's still running. It is still installing. It's still installing. Let's wait for that. Well, another thing I can do is, whilst this local one is running, let's do this. Up to date terminal will be reused by tags, pressing the key to close it. Host start. The terminal process. Okay, so let's see. So ideally, when it runs, what's going to happen is it's going to create a local version for me and actually show me the URL to call the function. Cannot connect to runtime process timeout. Okay, let me open the launcher and see. Attach it to this function host. That's fine. Okay, so let's run it again. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to close this and I'll open Visual Studio Code again. So it picks all that. Let me try this. After installing the runtime, let me close this. Let me just try to see if this would recognize. Let's see if this will, yeah. Let's see if this will recognize it. I'm just going to type func. Okay, so func is not seeing it. So let's see. All right, so I'm going to run this again. This is our function. This is the body of the function. And let's try F5. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so once that's happening, let's see. Hopefully this 6 sees it. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, okay, still running. Mm, 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 mm. Don't forget Tuesdays, IoT Tuesdays, Fridays, Functions Fridays, and Sundays we do kind of like an omnibus, high in-depth, deep dive, everything that happen on the 2 days. If you have anything specific you want me to address, either during the stream or after the stream, let me know, and then I will address that. Next Saturday, Global 365 Developer Bootcamp is happening. Okay, you have Azure. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so you know what? Let me actually download and install it. So let's close this. Let's close this for a moment. And let's let's see. Let's bring this here, bring this here, bring this here. Okay, so let's do this. Welcome to functions. Okay, whilst I try to install that, I'm going to modify this one. And actually, let's do this. I'm going to help you guys. I'm going to ask you guys to call this one. Let's go ahead and let me change a few things on the function. Let's see. Let's open this here. Yeah, consumption plan is okay. Yep. Okay. Functions Friday. Bum, 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 bum. So I'm going to download the core tools and install it directly instead of using ID, the Visual Studio Code ID, because for some reason it is not being friendly to me today. Yep. So the core tools version 2. Okay. Yep. So let me go to my favorite command prompt and then make sure that this is running pair. So let's npm install it. It's available via npm package. So I'm going to install this globally. Azure Functions, call tools. I'm going to install this. That's why I have turned Visual Studio Code off. Okay. Attempting to get download, 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 download. Just wait for it. Okay, I'm just going to minimize this and come back here. Okay, let's go to integrate so I see how I can call this. I see you, I see you, I see you, Lawrence. Welcome. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so this is the integration tab under the function. So it tells us that this is an HTTP trigger function. The trigger is an HTTP request is going to come in to trigger this function. It has output, which is just an HTTP response output. So which means when you call this function, it's going to return an HTTP response output for you. The selected method or allowed method for this function is the get and the post. So if you do a get, you're going to get a response. If you do a post, you're going to get a response. Okay, and the level, the authorization level, like I mentioned, is just like the security level for this is anonymous, which means that if I should publish the URL for this function right now, okay, anybody around the world could, you know, could call it. If I change it to function, I will need to provide you a token, and based on that token, you can call the function only when you have the token. All right. So the request parameter is called request. We can give it any name and reference it in code. Here just simply request. So if I had any specific route, so let's say for instance, I'm creating a series of functions and I want them probably to be um, to give me product information. Okay, I can say slash API slash product something. So you can create a template here. I'll go into details on this in subsequent ones. Today is just a general overview of a bit more in depth of functions than what we saw on Friday. So let's go for it. So this is pretty much here. So I can go ahead and add more bindings. You know, more input bindings. That is, if I'm expecting this, if this function is expecting some variable or some input, and then also I can add an output binding if let's say I want this function to spill out or output to another binding. Let's go to manage. So this is where technically we can add um, information relating to the function. Okay, let's say I want to add some environmental variables specific to the functions. I want to add some function keys that allow for access to the function. You know, if a function is going to have a state or stateless. Now, by default, basic functions are not stateful. If you want stateful functions, my advice would be to use durable functions. They have states, and we'll talk about durable entities to store state in subsequent episodes. So let's go to monitor, and here in the monitor tab you can see all the successful or all the failed attempts on the functions. You can see them from here. We're not using proxies. Slots I would explain basically as it's just the ability to have multiple versions of the same function. So let's say you can have a function that runs, let's say one is for testing, one is for user acceptance, and then one is for production. So that's what you use slots to do. So that's just a high level on the integrate, manage, and monitor. So now let's go to our functions. Let's go have some fun with our functions. Oh yeah, I think I think we are okay. Function. Okay, let me go here and open this up. View files. Okay, there you go. So your basic function is made up of the function.json that defines the bindings, which is either input bindings, output bindings, and the type of function it is. So you can either use this for we call it infrastructure as code. You can actually use a JSON to define your function than writing adding the bindings manually. So here you can see that the authentication level for this function is anonymous. It's an HTTP trigger, and this is an in, which means that a request will come in, and the request is tied to a variable called REQ. It could be anything. It allows or accepts get and post. And then there's another binding. So you can see that the bindings is an array of different bindings, and this is an HTTP output binding with the name of what res. Now you see that this is just code, JSON code translating everything you saw in the URL. All right, now here the other file is the index. The index is actually your code. That's where you're going to write all your code. The good thing about the functions is that it allows you to implement node modules. So which means that I can go in there and add node modules to my functions and it will run. So if you have any specific npm packages, Lodash, Cherio, whatever node module it supports it. So right now, let's go quickly and play the game. So I'm going to open this, and there we go. So I'm going to copy this URL now. So let me know if you can see this. Has my stream frozen? If you can still hear me, let me sure that we're streaming, because it looks like the stream is frozen some way. Okay, so let's see this. So I'm going to copy this, and I think I need a whiteboard. Let me make this a little big if you can't see this, because it looks like people can't see it properly. So let me know if this is big enough. You can see this. Okay, you know what? I'm going to open. Let's go to open Notepad here. I should get a whiteboard. I should get a whiteboard. I know there's a lot of whiteboard app. And then let's do a view, zoom in. Okay, I'm zooming in really big. Okay, okay, now I'm gonna zoom in a bit closer. Okay, so let me know if you see this. And what I want you to do is copy this. Okay, copy this URL, put it in a browser. Okay, and just add some. Let me do this. Let's show. So what you're going to do is that let me paste this here and reduce this a bit. So copy this URL. Okay, paste it. Copy this URL, paste it in the browser, and this is where just add question mark name, and then put your name here. Put your name. So if you put your name there, Ama Kofi, whatever that is, I'm going to let me actually bring a browser view here. So this is a browser view I have. Okay, so I pasted the same thing and I put question mark name equals, let's say I do this and I hit enter, and you realize that this is what we define the function to do. Hello Sami, welcome to function. So replace that with your name. Okay, let's say Kofi, and you hit OK. This is what you get. All right, so I want you to try it right now, and if you are able to do that, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, just give me a thumbs up in the chat, and then we'll move on to the next part where I'm going to change. I'm actually going to change the code to do something else. Okay, to generate a random number. To generate a random number. Now, like I mentioned, I will be giving out some goodies, some swags pretty soon. So I will be dropping some hints whilst the channel is growing. And those who will be fortunate enough or fast enough to catch the hint and tweet at me per the instructions, you win. Again, we're going to build a bot that is going to technically take care of all that. So I'm going to create another function that is going to be giving out certain tokens. Now, if you get the tokens in combination with certain numbers and you tweet at me, you'll be the lucky one to probably get something really cool. Yes, something really, really cool. Okay, so if you've been able to hit the endpoint and welcome Auntie Judith all the way from somewhere very long, Vancouver. I appreciate you joining the feed. The URL again. Yeah, sure, I can show you the URL again. Let's go out here. Let me open my notepad. This is the URL. This is the URL. This is the core URL. HTTPS functionsfridaygh.azurewebsite.net/API funcfriday. And then you put a question mark, name equals hello. So if you're able to do that, just change whatever your name is, change it there. And then if you see your name, thumbs up, just give me a thumbs up. Or it would just be cool to take a snapshot and tweet at me, you never know, you could be winning something when you do that. That is just a fun fact. Yeah, like I mentioned, this is just to give you a deep dive, into how I go about coding and doing stuff. So don't worry if you see me, talking to myself or actually just saying stuff. That's how I keep saying when I'm coding. So okay, so it looks like how many of you have been able to try it? Hit the URL, put question mark name equals your name. How many? 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 Before I make a change, top of the hour now. So like I mentioned that Sundays is going to be between 1.5 hours of coding, of me doing all my gibberish and everything I do to code. Um, Let me give you guys a sneak peek of something that you would see on Tuesday if you join me on IoT Tuesday. Just a sneak peek. So you can see my bench camera. So this is actually a Raspberry Pi. This is a Pi 3B. Um, I have some sensors. I have a this it has acceleration, gyroscope and stuff on it. I have an LED. I have it connected to a T coupler for the Raspberry Pi. Oh, you can see the break here. So this is a T coupler for the Raspberry Pi, and I have some buttons that we're going to be programming, writing. We're going to be writing some Azure functions that will respond when these buttons are clicked or pressed. So we're going to create Azure functions to control IoT devices, and then we're going to show you how you can actually write functions or code for IoT devices to communicate to the Microsoft Cloud. All right. So that's just to give you something to to just munch on. All right. So I'll be expecting you on Tuesday. Make a day with me. Come join. Let's learn some IoT stuff. So whatever functions or things we're creating on the Functions Friday channel, we're going to be using them on IoT Tuesday to communicate. So that it's kind of like a 360 experience. All right. So let's go back to our workbench. So Rudy, have you been able to call the endpoint? I am still Akosia Boating. It's been a very, very long time. And my old school SP, I greet you, Robert Donto. It's good to see you. Please link up. There's a lot to do. Abu is back, the only MVP in Ghana. I salute you, big man. Hope to see you Saturday. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to do. Let's have fun. Okay, so If you've been able to do that, you should see something like this. When you actually call the function, you should see whatever name you pass. For the sake of those who just joined, let's just do Abu, and you can see, hello Abu, welcome to functions. Now, pretty simple. Before I sign off, that is if there's time, let's see. This is what I'm going to do. Well, I'm just going to modify the function a bit. I just wanted to see how many people have been able to call the function and see the response before I go in to modify the code, because I want to modify the code for it to show a random number anytime you call it, because remember the new function we're creating is a token generator. In the meantime, let's check on how our installation is doing. Oh, okay, so installation is done. Let me try func and see. Pum 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 pum. Okay, let's see. Let me see this. Let me try. Okay, so let me close this again to see. And now let's open Visual Studio Code again. Well, just standing by. Let me know if you've been able to call the function, and then I will move on. In fact, let me open a terminal and check this out. If there isn't, so like I was telling you that when you create your functions, you can see that when we scaffolded the functions project, see what we got. We got the function.json, which I explained that actually is the that defines the bindings and all that. We can see there's also an HTTP as an HTTP trigger function. The authentication level is anonymous, which means that anybody in the world who has access to the URL can call the function, which is what you guys are doing now. Now the direction is in because this is like the trigger that activates the function. It accepts get and post, and then it has an output, binding. That is the response, all right? And then the index, which is the file itself. Now there's a sample data file here. It's just to call the function. Now you can see it has a package.json. At the moment, there are no dependencies. So if you have any popular libraries or node modules you use, you can do npm, install, run it here, and call it within your code, which is very sweet. So one thing I want you to take away from this stream is that you don't have to be tied to Microsoft to use Microsoft Azure. That's the point I'm trying to drive. You can be a Java developer. You can be a JavaScript developer. You you can be even a Python developer and still create functions. It's a quick, easy way to scaffold, to do stuff, and cost effective if you ask me. But again, you should understand that it's not every solution is fit for serverless. Not every solution is fit for serverless. I would be organizing a webinar before this month ends, and that's more of like a presentation style. I'll walk you through what serverless is. We're going to build, just build on all that, and then you understand a lot more if you're in doubt. Don't feel intimidated if you don't understand a lot of things I'm doing right now. You can always reach out to me. I would spend some time with you online. And then, hey, I can bring you up to speed. I'll be talking also about Microsoft, Live Share. Live Share allows you to do code pair programming remotely with people, with your colleagues, with your teammates. So right now, I could actually invite another developer to join me in coding, which you'll be seeing some of these things as time goes on. Okay, well, I'm waiting for the first person who would call the URL and try this for a reward. Yes, and I mean it 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 for a reward. Yep, 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 yep. Okay. Yep, 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 pam, 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 pam. Skip for now. I'll install it later for IoT because I want to show you how to do that. Okay, 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 okay. All right, so we're gonna go here. How many? 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 Okay, so I'm gonna go over. I'm just going to continue with this since we don't have a lot of time. So I'm going to comment this, or you know what? Let me just go ahead and say, let token be equal to. Uh-oh. Just a sec. Let's see. Yeah, 20%, that's fine. We'll be 14%. We're good. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and then okay. So now and I'm going to do a few things right now. So I'm created a token variable and this token is just going to let's say numbers between 100 and 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. So all this is going to do is just going to generate a random number between 1 and 100, right? Yeah. Expected a comma somewhere. Okay. Because I'm creating a result context. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm going to cut this out. And once this is there, I won't create a context. I'm going to create it right here. And I'm going to change. So I'm going to do some string interpolation here just to make my life very easy. So I'm going to do that. Let message msg equals, let's see this. Yeah, so let msg, let's use a tick. I'll just say hello. And I want to get your name, which will be either from the request or from the body. So I get your name. Now for those that are, you know, uh, yep. So hello, I have your name, and then I can say that your guest token is, and then we'll do this, and then we'll put the token here. Awesome. Stop this. So now all I can do is that the body is going to be replaced with this message that we've just created. All right? Very simple. Now this is very pure JavaScript. Okay, nothing fancy. It's just pure JavaScript. All right. So I'm going to save this, and I will try to run this here. Now this is a local. Okay, this is not on the URL. Don't forget that we're working on the local one. I could actually, you know what? Let me actually copy this into. No, let me do this. Let me copy this into the URL, the live one we have here. So I'm going to change this once it validates that you have all that in the header. Let's get rid of code we don't need, just to make just to keep our coding a bit clean. And then this time we're going to call MSG. All right, we save this. So let's walk through the code one more time. So this is what's going to happen. All right. So if once you call this function, it checks if you have a parameter name either in the query or in the body. Now, if it finds it, it's going to generate a token, a random number between 1 and 100 inclusive. And then once it generates that number, it's going to tell us, hello, your name, and then gives you a token. All right. So I'm just saving this. All right. And let's go back to the browser. And this time, let's try again. Let me try with Who is online? Let's see. Rudy. Okay. So Rudy is online. Let's try Rudy. And there you go. Hello, Rudy. Your guest token is 6.51, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is just raw, nothing else, okay? I could actually go ahead and, add a ceiling to it or copy to round this to something else. But this gives you an idea of this is just like creating an API within some few minutes or seconds. So if I'm creating an application and I kind of need some backend or some API, yes, there are fake generators and all that, but sometimes you want to wrap this around some other generators. And I'll show you how to do that subsequently. So hello Rudy, your guest token is this. So right now, if I should pass my name, let's try something else and run this. Hello Samuel, your guest token is 18 point, point that. So that is how you create. Now, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make it look a bit, gonna space this. Oh no, don't go there. We are going to copy these. Bum, mat dot ceiling and wrap the whole of this in there and save this. Okay, I have an OCD with saving. I can hit Control S a lot of time, but just like an OCD. Uh, okay, so now that is done. Let's come back here and I'll use the same Samuel, call it again, and there you go. Hello Samuel, your guest token is 50. That is how cool and simple it is to create your own Azure functions. Um, okay, awesome. Well, so at this point, we've been able to create a function. We modified it not just to spell your name, but then also, you know, to generate a token for you. If I call this again, I'm going to get another random token. It's not going to be the same thing. So if I were to create, if I wanted kind of like an endpoint to generate numbers within a certain range, yep, I could use this to do that. All right, now for the last time, let's try this before we call it a day. It's 9:30, sorry, 9:21 GMT. I'm trying to keep it to 1.5 hours, and I'll go offline. I'll still be coding or doing something else, but I mean, it's just to keep it succinct so that you guys understand what I'm doing. So let's go back here locally. The last thing I want to do is I really want this to work so we can deploy it. So we have the same thing here. The only thing I haven't done is let's do this. Let's come here. And the power of visual load. There you go. Bum, bum, bum. Putting the whole of this here. We save this. I'm passing this here. And then I'm going to try this again. Let's go to the terminal. Hopefully this works now. Gonna hit F5. Let's see if the functions runtime is installed. I hope it doesn't ask me to restart my machine because normally that's not the case. It shouldn't ask me to restart, but well, yeah, I think I have to restart because I have a lot of things running right now. So I can't afford to restart now. I'll just leave it the way it is. And then we go back to the URL. You know what? Let's see. Okay, so okay, let's do this. Let's say that I'm just going to play the devil's advocate here and just say that, oh, okay, I've written my function and it's working fine and all that. I've tested it and it's all good. Now, if I want to deploy this function, all right, all I need to do right now, bum bum bum, bum 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 bum. Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Okay. So all I need to do now that I have this token generator, I feel that I'm satisfied with it. I'll just right click this and then deploy to functions app. So I'm just going to do a deploy, and this is going to invoke. Oh, what's okay? Something is wrong with my Visual Studio. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Let's go here, and then that's it. Let me close. Okay, so there you go. Now I I want to deploy it into an existing functions app that I created. So on Friday we created an existing functions app. So I'm just going to click on it here. Friday, Func Fridays. Are you sure you want to deploy to functions? This will override any previous deployment and cannot be undone. Yes, I want to deploy it there. It's the same thing anyway, so I'll just override that. So, I don't want to create another, you know, multiple functions app this. I'm just going to replace that one. Let's see. And you can see that it's deploying. We'll wait patiently. And whilst that's happening, I'm still standing by to see who has been able to test their functions. Thanks. Uh-oh. Oh, I think we're dropping frames. Okay, deployment complete. So now, this is what we're going to do. So let's come back here. Let's go to our functions. I'm just going to go back here and then refresh. Open functions Friday, and something crazy is going to happen. There you go. So you see, we have our token generator function and then our functions Friday. Now, so token generator is what we created from our local environment. We created this from Visual Studio Code and we published it into Microsoft Azure Functions Online. So now this is also available. So ideally, I could have created a function that just calls just says hello, and then another function that generates a token. I could have another function that does something, and then I'm going to the space of a microservices. So you can also use Microsoft Azure Functions to do orchestrations and microservices, which is very, very doable. So with that said, I am going to end here for today. Watch out for my blog post within the week on the function setting up and all that. Um, don't forget to tweet at me, send me just send me a message on any of your social media handles. I would respond, and I will try to make you understand more if that's the case. So I hope this was useful to some of you, and I'm hoping to see you again on Tuesday and potentially on Friday. So, with that, I leave you with our outro. Enjoy the week.
Let's go.